Hello and welcome back to Oscar Recap. Today we will recap.
The man and his wife swapped bodies. The wife looked at her face of hair and, disgusted, she ran to the toilet and vomited. She even ruffles her long hair. The husband, who has become a woman, is delighted. The husband, Andre, is a brain specialist. He has invented a machine that can sense each other's thoughts. He wanted his wife Sophie to test it out for him, but his wife, through the machine, she found out that her husband was selling his house and getting a divorce. In her excitement, she knocked over her glass of water and set off a short circuit. The world came back to life, but the two switched bodies. The beautiful wife becomes a big man. The straight man becomes a charming woman. And when the wife saw herself through the reflection, just ran to the toilet in terror and vomited. Looking at his wife crying and sobbing, Andre still gave a few token words of comfort. The next day, Andre fixed the machine. The two of them sat down in front of the machine again. When they tried to change their bodies back, the machine did not respond. Just as his wife was looking sad, the child suddenly came out. This is not going to work. We must find a way to change it back. The babysitter rang the doorbell. They decided to leave the child with the nanny for a day. After the couple had solved the child's problem, Andre was going to take time off work to work on getting the body back. However, Sophie said there was a very important live broadcast today that she couldn't take the day off. So Andre was forced to wear a dress and high heels that make it difficult for him to walk. On the sidelines, Sophie instructed her husband on the precautions to take. She even checked the teleprompter herself. At that moment, Andre's best friend called. Andre picks up the phone and is about to respond when his friend asks him to answer the phone himself. In a desperate move, Sophie lied and tried to fake her illness. She tries to fake her illness, but she is unable to resist her friend's insistence. When Sophie walked into the hospital, he was forced into the craniotomy room by his best friend. Although Sophie was unable to operate herself due to a hand injury, she is forced to stand by and provide technical guidance. However, the scene was so bloody that Sophie couldn't hold it together. She fainted on the spot. When she woke up from her hospital bed, he received a call from his nanny. A heartfelt confession comes in. Sophie is now completely green. She is ready to go to her husband immediately to settle the score. But then she remembered that he was broadcasting live on her behalf. Sophie rushes to change the channel in the hospital. The gossiping medical staff were praising Sophie's beauty on the TV. Sophie, who had just been a bit giddy, but then Andre sat down and blacked out. The couple had accidentally swapped bodies. The woman behaved strangely. The man is a charming woman. Andre goes to work for his wife. The resultant drastic movements. The wife in front of the TV is completely blackened. Andre is oblivious to the stares. Despite the cameraman's quick redirection of the camera, the viewer's memory cannot be hidden. Sophie, seeing how Andre had disgraced himself, she wanted to run her head over and die. The whole studio was forced to stop filming. Furious, Sophie rushes home to settle the score. She finds Andre breastfeeding her little boy. Sophie can't take it anymore. It took a lot of effort to wean her little boy. During dinner, the couple had another argument over food. Andre was using Sophie's body to consume too many calories. This is something that Sophie, who has been struggling to repair her pregnancy, cannot tolerate. However, their conversation ignores the reaction of their eldest son. Sophie had thought that her career on air had come to an end when Andre's accidental nudity boosts the ratings. So the director lets her loose on the air. But one thing leads to another and another. Sophie receives a warm invitation from Shekhar at the hospital. This gives him something to fall back on. So Sophie tells him all about Andre's research, but he had no idea that Shekhar was a rival of Andre's and a plagiarist. However, as Sophie is about to leave the hospital, she is confronted by the nanny with her confession. Sophie's temperament explodes. When she returns home, she angrily accuses Andre, who is confused. Andre is bewildered, but soon Sophie realizes that it was probably his affectionate gesture that morning. It was his affectionate gesture that had led the nanny astray. He had really turned himself green. Today the misunderstanding has been resolved. The two of them slowly calm down. Then they apologize to each other for not doing each other's jobs properly. Then a call came home from the school. It turned out that something had happened to their eldest son. It turned out that the son had written an essay that, calling me a strange parent.
La mia vita è dura. Mamma e papà sono capovolti. Si chiamano all'incontrario. Mamma dice le parolacce brutte e poi dà un pugno in pancia al signore del parco. Un po'. Papà piange e si guarda allo specchio e si dà gli schiaffi.
For a rare moment of silence, Sophie and Andre, laughing awkwardly, they realize that they have neglected their son and decide to make amends. Both couples took the day off for themselves and then followed their son, who had just finished school, out onto the lawn, playing football. The three of them played happily for a long time, regained their original passion, but in the back of Andre's mind. But when a memory of Sophie suddenly comes to mind, he's completely unsettled. It turns out that Sophie had planned to divorce Andre. She even took Andre's accounts. She wanted him to leave the family. Andre's heart was instantly broken. He runs away from home and came to stay at his best friend's house. He even asks the killer question.
Dormo qui o dormiamo insieme?
Andrea è amico mio e io queste cose proprio.
This scared his best friend so much that he wanted to lock the bedroom door. Andre, in order to prove that he and Sophie had exchanged bodies, even told all the secrets between the dead friends. Not only did the friends give the patient a look of care, he is misled into believing that Andre has told his wife the truth. Andre is forced to stay as Sophie. The next day, he cut his long, cumbersome hair, got rid of his high heels, which made it impossible for him to walk. He goes to work in his best friend's shirt. The director is very unhappy with Sophie's sudden change of appearance. He thinks she has had a disagreement with her husband and is. The director is very unhappy with Sophie's sudden change of image. The director also reprimands Andre for his inaction. At this point, Andre's mind, the memory of Sophie, came back to him. Once when Sophie wanted to go on a trip with her husband and the two of them, Andre, who is so absorbed in his career that he has to put it off. He even lets Sophie go with her mother. His wife's passion is gradually drained by his perfunctory approach. This is where Andre comes to a complete realization. He and his wife are not actually exchanging bodies. They had shared their memories. The body is dominated by the other's consciousness. And on the hospital side, Sophie has a new problem. He has been trusted by his rival, Shekhar, and his research is stolen from him. However, when Sophie tries to reclaim it, she is left speechless by the director's questions about his theories. He is unable to answer even the most basic medical questions. Then, as Sophie turns to leave, in her mind, there is a memory in her mind of the invention Andre was working on. Sophie, who has also made a new discovery, found her friends home and decided to apologize. Now the three of them have a priority. The three of them have to find Andre's invention. After a night of emergency training, Sophie went into battle with the scattered memories in her head. Despite Shekhar's expert knowledge, he answered with aplomb. But when the director asked him about his motivation for the invention, Shekhar was in a rare moment of confusion. Sophie is now able to answer the question. The reason for his invention was to transfer to his grown-up son some fond memories of his son as a baby. This is what the couple had talked about when Andre mentioned that he had always wanted to make a career out of, to ensure the material well-being of the family. He had neglected his wife's company. Sophie was therefore a little more tolerant of Andre. In the end, she succeeds in taking back her husband's inventions. Andre appears on air in a unisex outfit. He is also subjected to a lot of ridicule from the lady who is known for her elegance. He also criticizes his morbid aesthetic in no uncertain terms. As a man, by prying into his wife's memories, Andre manages to learn about women's self-esteem and substance. The world has always defined women in terms of vulgar magazines. It was to make them all the type that men want to be, Andre says, as she untied the corset that made it difficult for her to breathe, and she shrugged off her high heels. It was a rule that no man had ever wanted to follow. Andre didn't want his wife to have to put up with it either. After the guest of honor left the room in a rage, Andre sat calmly and gave his closing remarks. I hope everyone will behave as they are. I hope we can all be beautiful, mature women. Sophie was so moved by this. Even his best friend gave him a rare compliment. The couple's relationship was restored to what it once was. The two of them kissed each other in a passionate way. Then they go through the machine again to retrieve their memories of each other. But just as the eldest son called out to his mother again, the couple looked at each other in silence before.
Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe and press the bell icon to never miss any updates.